Zion, that's our next letter. Gonna be the number 7. It's gonna be spelled Zion. Yod, Noon. Immediately when you see the number 7, what do you see? What's the immediate things that you see in this letter?
Angles,
Now,
chopping teeth,
Chomping.
teeth. I see a big tooth.
What? Maybe an axe?
No,
Yeah.
yeah, from that direction. That perspective, I see it now.
Hey, need to draw the handle longer? So mental and emotional. A tool or a weapon to stop others from hindering or hurting you. To separate, chop off, shut off your thoughts, and rest. As humans, we must even learn to cut off our own emotions from others. For some of us, this is hard, but feeling for other people is very draining. This also puts our mental state in unrest because we want to help and we cannot always help others. This makes us physically tired and could even cause irritability. Full self-rest is very necessary. Shut your brains off. Physically rest. Lay down and stop. Spiritual. A tool or a weapon to stop others from hindering or hurting you, to separate or to chop off. It's a 7th-day rest. It's a voluntary submission to Yah. Priority list, number 7. Rest yourself. Rest yourself as a whole on Shabbat. Do you just sit down? Or do you let your mind wander? Or what are you doing? Are you resting your mind? Are you allowing others to come in and emotionally assassinate you? Or are we telling the world, no more, go away, I'm full, stay away? It's the 7th year of rest. It's a time of reset. The land resets. Less slaves are set free, and it's the 7th day of rest of Shabbat, a day to rest. Number 7 is also a sworn vow. So on Shabbat, on the 7th day, as a sworn vow, what are you telling Yahweh if you do or do not keep that 7th day of rest? When you separate yourself from a negative toxicity, people, places, things, you allow yourself to rest. When we rest, we grow. Sitting down and allowing Yah to stand up is the literal concept of Shabbat. Zion Yod Noon. Cutting off the working hand that jumps out, conceptual. Cutting off the things that doesn't allow you to rest, conceptual. This includes your job and career. Cut it off. 7th day, no more. You don't work. You don't do nothing. You don't go to work. You don't answer the call from your boss. You don't answer that friend that's going to have an emotional breakdown because you have to take care of you, which we've seen and see done. You don't take care of yourself, which includes the 7th day sworn vow to Yahweh, which is an entering into covenant to Yahweh, and you cannot take care of others. How is the Zion you? It's time to cut off people, places, and things, including toxic thoughts, ideas, and actions. This is one on Shabbat I'll be thinking and thinking and thinking, and I don't allow my brain to shut down. And I'll go to my husband and I'll say, I'm really struggling, and he's like, it's Shabbat. Why are you thinking about that? Put it away. We're not going to do that today. So shutting down mentally is just as important as shutting down physically. Questions, comments, clarity needed?
This should have been part of the women's session. but this is,
No, I just asked, I'm like, are all of us having the same conversation with our wives? Like, if that's
Well,
exactly what happened.
it's a very hard, it's a very difficult thing sometimes for women.
It is, because our brains like are,
Constantly going.
and they don't, when there's a problem, we wanna fix it, we wanna fix it now.
instead
We
of
don't wanna
Netflix,
wait.
instead of Netflix and chill, it's Shabbat and chill.
Right, Shabbat and chill, shut down, shut it off, ladies.
Shut on, shut on.
Kelly, women's meeting. How do we do this?
I'm working on it.
Tools.
Really hard. That's the thing I'm really working on right now.
Me too. So we're in the same boat there because it's very hard for me to shut down or that friend that's calling. Like, and I've looked at my husband and said, I know what she's gonna do. Should I answer?
You
And he's like, probably
respond
not.
with a text message that says, Ida, we'll talk to you later tonight or tomorrow,
Yes.
depending on when it is.
I think men, just in general, also have an easier time shutting, just closing those.
They have a switch. They're like, I'm full,
Yes.
and they just switch it off.
They do. They have a
We-
much easier time
we have
switching
boxes.
it off.
We
Boxes.
We go
don't
into our Shabbat box.
we don't have that box. We don't have that
Just sit in
switch.
Yeah.
So,
No, we're nurturers, so the day you have a baby, if you're raising a child, you're constantly going until they're able to help themselves.
This is just.
And it's not just necessarily when your kids are grown, it's women just in general take care of everything.
everything. Yeah.
People, and it's not that men don't have the things that they take care of, but the things that we tend to take care of tend to just sort of blend into all aspects of life, and we have a harder time shutting them down.
Right, and men nurture in a very different way than women. So
Yeah.
they do nurture, but their nurturing
Right.
is not as a woman's nurturing. Very good. So then we get into the het.
I've got my hat on.
My son will tell you I say it wrong every time because I can't make that. sound.
You just did.
No, that still wasn't right. It's like hawking a loogie.
It's on French.
French?
It sounds like a ha. Het.
Sorry, that's really little. So het is the number 8. It is spelled het tov or het yotov. Mental and emotional. Mental boundaries are drawn, not allowing negativity or worldly unholiness to enter your brain. It's also about mental boundary of Shabbat, no more. We're going to see that in the next one as well. It's physical boundaries. Being set with who you allow to physically touch you and who you allow to physically come into your home. Spiritual boundaries, set of who you worship, where you worship, how you worship, and who you worship with. Very important things because if you are worshiping with everybody and anybody, we have seen it here, they come and they lead people astray. They don't allow you to rest. They don't allow you to focus on Yahweh. So being careful of where you worship and who you're worshiping with. Your priority list, who are you allowing around you and your family and why? Number 8 is also the new beginnings, or the great 8th day. This is drawing direct boundaries within yourself as you enter Yah's fence. When you walk into Yah's fence, you begin to fear Yah. You begin to learn his ways. This is in Proverbs chapter 1, verse 7, Proverbs chapter 1, verse 29, Proverbs chapter 2, verse 5, Proverbs chapter 9, verse 10, Isaiah chapter 11, verse 2, and Isaiah chapter 33, verse 6. Terror or terrorist. When you walk out of Yah's fence, or you walk away from Yah's fence, Yah himself becomes your enemy. So if you decide to enter the door of his fence, and then we watch several people, Sukkot do this too, turn around and walk out, I will say a prayer for you. Because the next events in your life are probably not going to be good. Because Yahweh, as you turn your face away from him and your voice away from him, he will turn his face and his ears away from you. This is also a concept of free will. Outside the fence, you have free will. You can do whatever you want. You have no rules. Predestination concept. Once you walk into the fence, you have entered Yah's fence, you are in there. Inside the fence there are rules to abide by that are predetermined, such as the 10 Commandments, the festivals, and who is your master. Those things are already predetermined. Here's your Torah. I am your master. Follow me. If you don't like that, you walk out and Yahweh becomes your enemy.
I'd like to give a clarifying statement on that.
Yes.
It's still free will inside the fence.
Well, you have free will to walk inside the fence.
And once you're in the fence, you still have free will. You're choosing to do these things.
Well, true, because you have to agree to them, so, which is.
But it's almost a daily choice for some people.
Right, this is
You're
true.
daily choosing to do it, or you're daily choosing not to.
Right, whereas scriptures that.
Or even moment by moment, depending on the situation.
So the free will is always there, inside and outside the fence. It's how anchored are you going to keep yourself through your free will to stay inside the fence?
And how big is this fence? It's a very large fence.
Yeah.
This is true, it is a very large fence. And that is also true, because scripture also says to work out your salvation through fear and trembling. And the decision to stay inside the fence, you have free will to stay there, but he says you do my stuff.
Mhm.
That's where it's like, you have free will to do that, and he gives it to you, but I don't think I'd want to walk away personally. That kind of makes me
You
like,
always have the choice to do that.
This is
Even if you go inside the fence, you still have the choice to not go outside, if you so choose.
It's not that that's the right thing to do or a good thing to do, it's just,
You still have it.
yeah.
right. Okay, yeah, that's
It's the greatest gift he ever gave us, but for
It's
many of
also-
us, it's our own worst enemy.
Yes, it can be.
that is true. Our own worst enemy to be able to have that.
But he wouldn't want it. He wants you to come to him freely and give of yourself and love of yourself. Love of him and follow his commands freely, not.
We're not there as slaves.
No.
We're there, we have this conversation, we're there as indentured servants.
Right.
We have contracted and agreed to the covenant to be his and follow his rules. But that was by our own free will.
Right.
We were not captured and put in shackles and forced to be his and follow his rules.
No, that's what he does to the enemy. He takes those people and gives them to the enemy because they did wrong. Not us to him. So Het Tav is Yah marking his fence, conceptual. Het Yod Tav, the working hand marking the fence. Whose hand? Your hand, Yah's hand, another's hand? It's a working hand.
It's the actions.
Het, tet, aleph. Sin. The literal meaning, sin. Bring your sacrifice to the door to be slaughtered, to be cleansed. To Zion, the Vav man, slain at the entrance of the gate, for us to regain access to Yah's fence, to his kingdom. It's pretty interesting when you look at it. And this word sin, we're going to see several times throughout the teaching, and the different concepts of what it can, does conceptually and literally mean. So how is the het you? Set up boundaries for your inner and outer self boundaries, for your physical self of who is around you and touching you, to what you allow in your mind and what you allow yourself to emotionally react to. Giving thought to emotion to everything is exhausting. Boundaries for your inner self is just as important as boundaries for your physical self. Het, free will, predestination, as equals authority. Whether it is your own house, your job, or Yah, when your authority sets up boundaries for you, as long as they do not go against Yah's words, you should abide by the boundaries set out for you. In a job, in a marriage, as a child of Yah. If you do not set up your own boundaries, then you allow someone else to set up boundaries for you. This is one thing that's really important when we talk about the het and the tet. Het and your tet. So many times has my head set up boundaries for me and I crossed them. So many times did I cross those boundaries and I got hurt. So many times did my head say, Scripture says, and you should not do this, and I crossed those boundaries and I got hurt. So when Yah gives you something, a scriptural boundary, when your head gives you something, whether it's your husband or your father or an earthly somebody that you look to as a headship, pay attention to that and listen and pray over it, because they're not always. So I've been told, that's controlling. Why are you doing that? I listen to those voices telling me, well, that's controlling, and that's controlling, and that's controlling. You need to think for yourself. Well, it's not. It's see it right here in the het of the fence of boundaries, because I was allowing everything and anything inside, which was allowing breakage, which had to rebuild and reset up and redo to finally Yahweh says, hey, are you paying attention yet? Are you gonna listen? So that's just an interesting thing that I had found this year. So then we go on to our text. Number 9. Spelled tet tet or tet yod tav. For your mental and emotional, stop, caution, full, no more, no trespassing, not allowing yourself to overthink, not allowing negative, incorrect, worldly thoughts in, not allowing too much information in at a time, keeping out the bad, understanding when you are mentally and emotionally full. Physical, being able to verbalize when you can no longer mentally process any more information. Physically removing yourself when you are mentally incapable to process any more information. I was talking last night, I think it was to some of the ladies here, about I had to learn how to remove myself. I had to learn how to get up and leave because I was allowing myself to become fully dysfunctional because I felt rude to get up and leave. So learning how to say, okay, I cannot process any more information, and physically removing myself is something that is very much needed. Not only for me, but for everybody. My kids are being taught this. My husband has helped me a lot with this because I'll go to him almost in tears because I can't no more, and he's like, you need to go. So another thing I picked up on the Aleph this year as I was going back through it and rereading it. So spiritual, praying to Yah during times you cannot necessarily physically remove yourself, or when you cannot process any more information, but the situation requires you to be there. Focusing on Yah and leaning on Him, which is your job, children, maybe any other scenario to where you have to focus on it, but you are functionally unable to. And that's where Yahweh comes in. And we rely on Yahweh in those situations to get us through. Priority list. Prioritize the current situations around you. Know when you are done. Lean on Yah when you cannot do for yourself. Tet in of itself is a tote, a marking, a branding, a sealing. Yah marking you as His possession. Tet, a double marking or sealing or covering. Adam and Eve covered themselves first, then Yah covered them. Noah sealed the ark, and then Yah sealed the ark. We are to mark and seal ourselves so Yah can mark and seal us with the shed blood of Yeshua. Het, or tet yotav, conceptually, the working hand marking and signing His stuff. You are His stuff.
Tiffany, can I say something about that real quick? It just came to mind. Those tech letters, or the tech, looks like kind of like bread. And Messiah is our bread of life. He is the bread of life. So if we read Scripture, or when we do read Scripture, we're partaking of that bread of life, of what He says to do, what Yahweh has said to do as well. So He is our bread of life. It kind of reminds me of bread.
Sourdough, I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for like you cook it in a round, like, yeah.
So there's a table of showbread where they were flat.
Yeah.
They were like faces, and so that would really fit that picture as well of being the bread. So very good observation. Very good thought concept. Zion het yod, conceptually, mark and seal yourself. Het to Aleph conceptually is marking the fence with the strength of the authority, Passover, putting my commandments on the door. Sign, sealing what's on your door. Het Yod Tav, here, is sealing the working hand with a mark, conceptually. So how is the Tet you? Mark your boundaries for your inner and outer self, realizing what you are giving thought to and what are you emotionally reacting to. Understanding and knowing what is okay to give yourself over to mentally and emotionally and physically. Walking away from the things that are outside of your boundaries.
It's interesting to know, Tiffany, as you know, you said that basically, you know, when enough's enough. But if you take in creation, Yah stopped. He stopped on when that was enough for that, for day one, for day two. And he could have kept going.
Yeah, he could have.
Yeah.
He could have made a whole lot more,
That's
but.
right, that's right. Or, you know, done extra things in it, but he did. Because even he knew, you know, that it's a message to us to know when enough's enough.
Right, very good concept. Like I didn't think about that. I gave it. Knowing Yah stopping because enough was enough in the beginning in creation is a very good, also concept and a very good example for us to know and see and look at. To know, you know, it's like, well, when did Yah stop? Well, he stopped on the seventh day. No, well, he also stopped at the end of every day after he created. So. Any other, so we have bread, we have Yah knowing when to stop. Stephen, did you have something to say? Or did
No, I really like it, but you're making Steven hungry now.
bread thing. So Yod is our next letter. We're gonna spell it Vav Dalet or Yod Vav. Yod Vav Dalet.
So Bob Dal, you got, you here, you've got, Yod Dal on here. So is there 3 ways?
Is it Yod Dalet or Vav Dalet? You want to explain the wild card? The wild cards and.
It could be either or.
Oh, it could be the Yod.
Yeah, it could be either or.
So the Vavs, the Yods, and
Vav, Yod, Hays, and are like wild card letters. You can put them in, take them out. Doesn't really change the meaning at all, like a whole lot, or if at all. So, and even going through the dictionary, there's alternate ways to spell the letters.
so that's in the modern. Conceptually, if you want to look at these letters conceptually, it makes a difference because if you have a Vav Dalet that, you know, says a man standing at the door versus a Yod Dalet, well then you have a working hand on the door. So modern, you can use them as wild cards. Conceptually, they each give you a different look of what's really going on. So is it a working hand at the door? Is it a man at the door? Maybe it's a working hand of the man at the door. So it could be all of it. If you look that up in the etymological dictionary, get a literal look at it, you'd probably get a very similar translation of what it means because it uses this as a wild card. So mentally and emotionally on the Yod is being mentally aware of Yah's God. Watch yourself, others, events going on around you. Is it good or bad? You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but the time is not yet. Watch, for it will be as a fig tree cast her untimely figs. Matthew 24. This is pretty important because, are we supposed to just watch for Yeshua to return? Are we supposed to observe what's going on around us? In general, it's like, so be observant. Physical, a working hand keeping Yah's commandments, verbally pronouncing Yeshua as your Messiah. Spiritual, Yah's hand working on you and molding you as clay. Your priority list. Make sure you are consistently doing Yah's stuff as a whole you. 10 Commandments. Something to daily think about and keep. The Shema is one of them. Yeshua is Yah's right-hand man. Anytime Yah interacts with his people, it is by, with, and through Yeshua. When you enter Yah's sins, you become Yah's right-hand man by doing his stuff. It's pretty interesting to think about because what did Yeshua do? Well, Yeshua says, I do nothing and my Father doesn't tell me to. Well, what are we supposed to do? Well, we're supposed to follow Yeshua's example, and Yeshua said to follow Torah. So there's a level of, it's like, well, how do you be Yahweh's right-hand man? Well, we follow Yeshua. Vav Dalit is the Vav man. Yeshua is the door. Yeshua says, no one gets to the Father but by me. You have seen me, you have seen the Father. John 14:6. Yod Vav Dalit. A working hand opening the door. Yeshua says, behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him and he with me. Revelation 3:20. Pretty interesting. As a child, I remember asking, my pastor for years, said, well, why is he knocking? Why doesn't he just come in? He knows, like, why is he going to stand there and knock? What I had told as a child is because Yeshua is a gentleman, and he's not going to force entry. So as an adult, I've carried this story into my adulthood, like, well, Yeshua and Yahweh are gentlemen, and they want us to follow them and allow them into our lives in a free will kind of way, and not as a slave, or not as a dragging us along the way. So it's something that's kind of openly given to us to be able to have blessings and have everlasting life afterwards, which is pretty amazing to me. The Yod is not always seen, such as the writing on the wall. Everyone seen the handwriting, but no one knew what it meant. Daniel had to interpret the writing for the people. That's in Daniel chapter 5. Working possession. If you do Yah's stuff, he claims you as his. Go, reach out and grab his stuff. It's being offered, reach out and grab it. How is he go you? Work yourself through it by working on yourself. Yah will only work on you if you choose to work on yourself. First, working on your whole self together, which most of us do not. We normally go through this process working on a part or an aspect of ourselves at a time. Now this is okay to work on yourself in part or an aspect if it's something that is affecting the whole self. Because you can only work on that one thing, right? But as you work on that one thing, you have to work on it through your spiritual, your physical, your mental, and emotional. You can't only fix it through your spiritual. You can't only fix it through your physical. You have to go through all of you of the very interesting. Very much needed concept there. Questions, thoughts, comments? No, okay. Cough. The 11th letter. It's the number 20. So it's the 11th letter in the Hebrew alphabet, but numerically it holds a value of 20. Aleph through Yod, it is the 1 through 10, and they hold the numerical value of 1 through 10. Kaf, we start with the 11th letter with a different numerical number. We're going to spell it Kaf, Hey. Mental and emotional. Yah's words to process and to internalize. Physical. It's the lines of the physical Torah to hold, Torah in your hand, an open hand to help or to give to others. Spiritual. It's Yah's open hand to you. 20 to 21 is the age of accountability in Scripture. It's the age that the men were counted to go to war. The direct meaning of the kaf pei is rules and commandments being written and spoken. What words are you writing or speaking? What you say means something. Usually it's going to bring the expression of a blessing or a cursing. Yod Kaf is offering of grace. What's yours is mine, and what's mine is yours. It's a hand-to-hand concept of Yod Kaf, a working hand giving forth, a working hand giving forth, or being expressed of the Yod. So we have a working hand giving directly back to back in the Hebrew alphabet. Your words are the expression of the working hand. Kaf is also a cleft of a rock or a hiding place. Exodus 33:22 gives us a really good look at the Kaf concept. Moses was hidden in the cleft of a rock, shielded by the hand of Yah, along with Yah speaking and writing the commands to Moses to take back the people and to re-speak the commands to the people with the proof of the written words. So when we talk about hand-to-hand, like what other stories can you think of? Like that of Moses being hidden, being given the written commandments, speaking with the proof of. And if you're speaking the lines of instruction of the authority of the Aleph,
when Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, when they would bow down to something, so they were following Yah's authority. But therefore, when they were cast into the fiery furnace, and they came out, their reward, because they obeyed Yah instead of Nebuchadnezzar.
so they were following lines of instruction and a working hand, or you want to say the hand of Yahweh, was shielding them. So how is the Kaf you? What does this word say? Are you lined up with Yah? What lines have you laid for yourself? Do your lines look like Yah's lines? I'm going to slide in here at this point. Most of us come to a catastrophe realization of ourselves and our have to go back to the Aleph and start the process over again and rebuild ourselves according to Yah's word. A lot of times this is where we realize our fathers have inherited lies, or what I call the spiritual abuse comes into realization. I talked about that last night, about like what is that spiritual abuse. Our fathers have inherited lies being handed down to us. And this is the point in the alphabet that I believe this is where the babies end up coming to the realization of everything that's been taught out of a modern Christian church is wrong, and they want to know where to start. And we have to go back to the Aleph or to the authority and say, please help us lead them. Help me point them and give them your plan. So that was the thought process behind the cough is you. Lamed can be the 12th letter with the numerical value of 30. I don't know if you can see that or not. It's spelled Lamed, Mem, Dallas. Mental, emotional, our thoughts lead and guide us, being taught how to cleanse ourselves. Physical, being led or guided, leading and guiding someone else. Spiritual, God is our shepherd, leading and guiding us. Psalms 23. Submitting ourselves to Yah so he can lead and guide us, and Yah teaching us how to cleanse ourselves. The age of 30, scripturally, is the age in which a man could enter into priesthood. The age of Yeshua, when he started his ministry, and this is an age of maturity aspect. So what we have found with this is, now if a man can't enter priesthood until they're 30, well, what happens at age 30? So they become accountable between 20 and 21. Somewhere between cough and the law, that is, a whole lot of time. What happens within those years?
Children,
Huh?
children maybe?
Maybe.
Marriage? But rough.
Preparation. Preparation. So I'm looking for something specific.
Maturity.
Maturity by what? No, not by fire.
My child,
Trial or error.
Truthfully,
Experience.
Wisdom via experience.
Wisdom via experience, exactly. So between 20, you guys can go to war. You got enough muscles, you can go to war and you can fight. But you can't enter into priesthood until you're 30 because you have to have life experience, whether it's your children, preparation, testing and trials, fire.
Steven's dead, so.
So that was very interesting as we went back and looked at these numbers and kind of dug in a little bit deeper. So in order to be led, we as children have to be of a submissive mindset. Each of us are being led by somebody or by Yah or both. John chapter 10, Yeshua says, I am the good shepherd, and my sheep hear my voice. I ran out of room, guys. Sorry, I hope you can see this. Kaf lamed means all. Lamed kaf means walk. Lamed Kaf means I have given all authority to you. It's the beginning of trials, teaching others how to cleanse themselves by or through which one has already gone through. Once you hit the aspect of 30 maturity, to be a good leader of Yah's authority, you must surround yourself with wise people, also known as a wise council of people, to continually learn and grow in order to continue to lead others. A strict warning of knowing what Yah says and not being led astray or leading others astray, being led straight to the chaos which brings forth shalom.
Which today, just a note or something that comes to my mind today in the culture that we live in. Our culture does not embrace well, they don't embrace a lot of those concepts anyway, but the whole idea of maturity, we've gone backwards in mature, like when people today are not mature enough. They mature at a much slower pace usually. It's sort of like adolescence time period is drawn out longer than it should be.
Because life has become so easy.
Yeah. And people are not held, I don't know, they're just, I think it's very hard, I think, for a lot of people today with like those ages.
They've been babied a lot more and a lot longer.
Yes.
Right,
Yes.
and
Yes.
this is where, like, because people have been so babied,
Yep.
You have 40-year-olds living in that guy's basement.
yeah, like, make it they're like, Mom, you know, when you should move out, like 25. 25 is when you should be out of my house. You should have at least an associate's degree, a job, a car, like, by the age of 25. If you're still in your parents' house by then, well, Rod and Kelly are available to talk.
But what about those people, like, for example, myself?
We'll talk to you later.
I've done good. I was out on my own, and then things happened. and
Yeah,
you
I
get
believe
some-
there was a council of people that came and talked to you
Oh,
last year.
Don't go there. Don't
Okay.
go there, 'cause I done.
Well,
You brought it up.
You brought it up.
Things didn't just happen.
Right.
Choices happened.
There's no just